my name's Claire and this is Peachy Keen Pans. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm just going to kind of give an overview of some recent declutter and depotting kind of decisions that I made. And potentially also do some like fresh live decluttering as well, like take a look at other parts of my collection. So yeah, essentially where I'm going to start is with the two palettes that I was focusing on last year. So these two peach palettes. And they're both like at the stage where the packaging is getting a bit gross. And I did mention this in some of the videos, like in the updates that I made about them last year. But I think you can probably see like what I mean in terms of just like bits of rust and then like stickiness of the packaging. And on the inside, you kind of get that as well, like the effect around the edges. The gold is starting to tarnish, faux gold, obviously. But as you can see, what I've done is depot 3 shades that I wanted to keep from this, and then I think the rest I'm comfortable with just completely letting go of. So what I've done with these shades is put them in some new places. So it would have been really fun to film this, but I did it late night one night, which is normally when I do any kind of makeup experimentation or smashing up. It's often like a before bed thing, just suddenly being like, okay, now's the time. So I rarely film it. Like some of my very earliest videos, I did film that kind of thing. So if you want to see what that process looks like, you can go back to those. But with this one, it was like a beige matte, a bone matte, the classic setting color. And then a brown and like a very pale pink shimmer. And so the pink shimmer I've put into my Marc Jacobs, what is this called? Fantasia, something like Fantasia. I can't believe I've forgotten it. It's right here. Oh, Fantasine. Fantasine. It's like a play on words. It is this shade. I think it just works with the color story really nicely. Like there was originally a different pink shimmer in here that was a bit brighter, more powdery, less sort of pigmented, less impactful. It almost felt like a kind of powdery matte with sparkle, but it wasn't one of those like sparkly mattes. I don't really know how to describe it, but I just think it was kind of a terrible shade. And I think this is such a nice fit in this palette because like especially this one and like that matte next to it, if I swatch them both for you, I mean you can kind of see already right on the finger, like they're so pretty together. Anyway, I think they're a really nice match, nice pairing. So yeah, I kept that shade. And then with the brown and the bone matte, I put them in my tiny Clairo Psyche palette. So they're just like here. And I really just like, part of me did kind of want to uphold the original vision of this palette, the original color story, in keeping it just colorful. But then this is such a useful palette for travel because it's so teeny tiny and robust. Like, I feel like people used to, I mean, don't as much maybe anymore, but used to talk about a palette being travel friendly a lot of the time. I think this is truly travel friendly. Like it's cardboard, it's not very fussy, it contains such a tiny amount. Anyway, you get my point. The bone matte is now in here, and so is the brown, just because they're both like practical, utilitarian eyeshadow colors. And yeah, then the last few shades are obviously still in this palette, and I'm literally just gonna be throwing them in the bin because they are not good enough or interesting enough for me to be worth preserving. The packaging, if it had stayed in mint condition, I probably would have repurposed or like continued to mess with it and add new shades in and take things out. But it's just, time does things to, what am I trying to say? The materials are decaying. Getting rusty is probably to do with the climate I'm in. I mean, I live in a pretty humid area in the world. I don't know what else would be acting upon it. Probably the humidity, and then the rest is just like eventually stuff like this just goes, I don't know, bad. Like the packaging has gone bad, not the product. It hasn't really expired so much as the packaging has expired, which is such an interesting thing. And like I have thought about this concept with like the durability of packaging, not often or not always relating to like the value or the cost of a product, because I have some more expensive packaging that has gotten beat up faster, and then on the flip side some cheaper products and therefore cheaper packaging that has stayed really good. I think that I don't know, I would be curious to see like if you have old Too Faced tin palettes, because this is from December 2018. So anything around that time or earlier, like the chocolate bar palettes, the big peach palette, those limited edition holiday ones, like have they held up over time, or have they gotten, I don't know, weirdly rusty like mine? Let me know. I'm literally gonna just put this in the bin. If you're someone who's also thrown out a palette, like physically thrown it out, not passed it on after panning it for a good amount of time, does it feel weird, to like rid yourself of something that you documented so intently for so long? It's a funny feeling, but it's gotta go. All right. So next up is the Sweet Peach Glow palette. So you will potentially remember, it's like messy. I don't know how much you can see this situation, but I'm just gonna have to empty the chunks into the bin first before holding this up. So you may recall that at the end of last year, I finished this bronzer and had made, a fair bit of impact on the blush. The highlighter kind of just barely changed over the year. It's not exactly the right highlighter for me. The blush is really lovely though, and as you can see from the missing chunks, what I did was take a portion of the remainder of blush and put it in this like essentially DIY or like Frankened blush palette that I made, and that has sort of gone through a few iterations over the years. This is like a blush that I made myself, another blush I made myself, a highlighter. This is like the Wet n Wild Blossom Glow highlighter that was like one of those IT products, I don't know, 7 years ago or however long. And I put some of the peach blush in here. And this I actually really do think I'll continue to use. And I think that's enough. Like, I don't think I need more than this amount. I could have scraped out all the product and put it in another container, but like, I don't need it. I don't need that much because blush lasts so long. Even though I've only kept like a third of the blush, I still think this will last as long as I could possibly want it to last. Like, if this lasts me the next 10 years, or hell, even 5 years, if I decided for some reason I wanted to wear it like all the time, I don't think that at the end of that I will have regretted throwing out the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, this palette has gone through the same shitty process of just kind of getting gross, as my other palette also did. So it's also going in the bin. I can't pass this on to someone and be like, have a really gross used looking highlighter, no bronzer, and a rusty packaging. Like, I can't do that. It's going in the bin. Okay. Oh yeah, and then this also, man, this one I guess I should pass on to someone. This is, and like, okay, this is a little duo compact that was the first eyeshadows I ever panned or attempted to pan at the very beginning of my panning account on Instagram, which I've had for like, I don't know, it must be around 5 years or more at this point. And originally it was like this Chanel compact, super simple, a dark brown matte and a light, very pale, almost white shimmer. Not a very impactful shimmer, just subtle, luxury makeup. It is, so subtle a lot of the time. And originally I was using the dark brown in my eyebrows and the shimmer on the lid, and hit pan in both of them that way. And this was also my mom's compact before it was mine. This is like old makeup, as in the sense of it is from, when would she have been using it? I guess like probably the early 2000s. I think that's fair to say. I mean, who knows exactly when, but I ended up putting my own kind of colors in there, but I just don't reach for them. And I had different colors in here before and I didn't really reach for them. I think just like a duo of this size is just not something I need. Like if I wanted to travel with my singles and I only wanted a couple of shades, I would just put them in a little magnetic palette that's basically the same size anyway. There are no two shades that I dependably need to bring with me on the go all the time in tiny amounts. Like maybe if this was like big enough that I could fit a blush and a bronzer in there, but even then, I'm not really doing my makeup on the go. I mean, I did just talk about how this is like travel friendly, but what I mean is going on a little trip, you know? Whereas like, if I go on a little trip, I'll just bring a blush and a bronzer or some interesting single shadows. I think this is kind of getting tangential, but what I'm saying is, I don't reach for this. I don't reach for the format of a duo eyeshadow at all. And I will see if anyone else wants it. This one's not going in the bin. It will go to someone else. I feel like I am kind of fond of it because it has this like, I don't know, yeah, luxury association. But the fact is I don't support Chanel. I'm not really interested in luxury makeup in general. So maybe it's more kind of nostalgia that gets me holding onto this, and I don't think that's, you know, in this context or for this product enough of a reason, so I will pass it on to someone else who will actually get some use out of it. And then in terms of other products, I don't think I'm going to be decluttering any other eyeshadow. I will just mention, I'll mention a like passing thought that I had, which is I was tempted to declutter this, but it's the first palette that like did something to my heart in terms of being peach scented Too Faced makeup. I've talked about this a bit before. That's where the love of makeup started for me in a real way. It was with Too Faced's peach collection, that like round 2 peach collection, not the first one, but the big palette. This one is what did it. And I've Frankened it, so it's very, you know, customized to my preferences. I was tempted to get rid of it because I rarely use it. I might have used it like twice all of last year. But I think I will hold on to it as like maybe even sort of an archival piece. Like something that I'm holding on to for partly sentimental reasons. I don't think any of my other palettes are like that at all. Everything is getting used. And maybe I'll start using this again anyway. That is absolutely possible. But I think for the time being, yeah, I will hold on to it. But if I really don't touch it at all, and I decide that the white peach palette, this one that I panned a couple years ago, if I decide that this is enough to hold on to that nostalgia, I'll just keep this and I'll probably declutter the Peachy Mattes palette. Okay, and then in terms of stuff in the drawers, which is all the rest of my makeup, that is to say, not my palettes. So there is this. I don't want this, and I already put it out in a place on my vanity that indicates that I have already mentally decluttered it, but it's still physically there because I haven't had the chance to give it to anyone yet. So yeah, this, I got sent this by accident once. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it. It's in the shade Poison Cherry. I got sent this by accident once instead of a bright red lip liner that I had ordered from Lime Crime. They sent me the lip liner like as a replacement because they had missed it in that first order. And I kept this because I really like the formula of the Wet Cherry glosses. They were my favorite formula until they were surpassed by the Cloud Kiss glosses from Cloudy Cos, which is like a local indie brand for me. Very similar, but this one is slightly superior, so that's what I buy now. But before that, the Lime Crime glosses were my like go-to formula, and therefore I held on to this, even though it's like not a color I'm gonna wear. I've never worn it out, ever. I'll put it on, I'll take it off, and put it back in the drawer, like at home, that whole process. I have a black gloss, so it's not like I'm opposed to all weird, spooky, dark colors. This is just ugly on me and it makes my teeth look really yellow. It's not that good. So, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna give it to someone else. I'll hopefully find someone who wants it. I've just had a look through everything else, and I think there is only one other product I'm gonna declutter. And even then I'm a bit on the fence about it because I kind of think maybe it's too old and done. Let me see, like, is this going to be useful in any way to me? What I'm thinking is, I used to have to use these like shade adjusting lightning drops because I was buying sort of like, yeah, mostly drugstore based products, and they were often not pale enough for me because I was often the palest shade in a range, or too pale for the palest shade. But like shade ranges have gotten better, and I just am able to buy products that fit my skin tone better now as well. I just don't know if I'm gonna have use for this. However, while saying that, I'm thinking like, but what if I do want to do some like, I don't know, vampy shit for Halloween and want to look super pale? I think I'll keep it. I think I'll keep it. I really don't feel like I have sort of too much, and the things that I am not a fan of, I'm either panning or have already decluttered at this point or have finished. Like, actually, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I thought I'd at least pull out a few more things, but really that is it. Maybe this can go as well. I'm just thinking, will I ever use this lip liner color? I so don't like this, you know? Like, just a berry. I don't think I'm ever going to use this. I'm yet to use it. Maybe I can see if someone wants it together with this as like a useful combo. I don't wear berries. It just doesn't. It's not my preference. I have no makeup on right now anyway because I just got out of the shower, clearly, and I'll put on some clear gloss to replenish my lips after having to rub that off. But yeah, I think, I don't know. This thing, the quality is kind of dubious, and I might declutter this if I get a better replacement. It's like a red lip stain from Colourpop that doesn't really last on me. If I get a longer lasting one, I will throw this out. But it's one of those things where I'm like, well, what if I do want to put this, for example, under a red lipstick so that then I don't get that, like, you know, where like the color of the inside of your lip shows as the lipstick wears down. Maybe this would help stop that problem. Like, I feel like anything where I've been kind of like looking at it being like, oh, maybe I can get rid of that, I've been like, there's still a purpose for it. So anyway, that's probably like the absolute smallest declutter that's ever been filmed. I hope you found the eyeshadow part at least kind of interesting, because I found that fun to do, like to essentially take the shadows that I wanted out of these palettes that I was happy to throw out and then just get rid of them. That was a satisfying process. So thanks for watching. This has been a bit of a kind of chaotic one. I hope you're going well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.